You could manifest $1 million tomorrow, but you won't. And today I'm going to tell you why. Today's a little bit different. I'm not going to quote Neville Goddard. I'm not going to quote Joe Dispenza, Florence Scovel Shinn. I'm not even going to talk about the neuroscience today. Today I'm going to talk about human science. And this is something that I've never done before. I have no notes. I have no script. I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth because today I'm going to talk about human science. Today I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to speak from 20 years of teaching manifesting, not just teaching manifesting, but living manifesting. For those of you that are new to this channel, I did not come from a trust fund. I do not have wealthy parents. I came from a cult where education was forbidden. I didn't have anything handed to me. Everything I manifested, and I did it the hard way, and I made the mistakes, and I've taught it, which is why this channel exists. So today I'm not going off of the facts. I'm going off of what I hear people say. And when I say you could manifest $1 million, but you won't, there are reasons why, because the techniques are there. I can teach you the techniques, but there's a few things, very specific things that you're doing that are going to block you. And most manifesting doesn't teach that. It doesn't teach what you're doing wrong. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't know what you're doing wrong, teaching you what to do right doesn't always fix it, because then sometimes we're doing things right without realizing how we're sabotaging ourselves. So stick around to the very end, because I don't know what's coming out of my mouth today. Honestly, I am winging this. But I know it's going to be good because I realize that I don't need a script. I do when I'm quoting the facts. I want to make sure that I don't misquote anything. You know, there are times where it's appropriate to be extremely structured and make sure I get all the facts right. But I don't need a script because I'm not teaching theory. I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from my own experience, and I'm speaking from human experience. So you could manifest $1 million, but you won't. And here's one of the major reasons why. First of all, when people visualize, they're assuming their future desires. They know what they want, maybe. They know they want to be wealthy. They know they want this beautiful house. They know that they want a beautiful car and this perfect relationship. And they know they want to travel. And they know all of that. And they see themselves doing all of that. Maybe they're getting all of that right. Maybe they can feel the feeling. Maybe they know exactly what it feels like to be content, to be successful, to be abundant. Maybe they're getting all of that right. But here's what they're getting wrong. They're the same person in their vision as they are today. So what do I mean by that? Well, we don't manifest what we want. We manifest who we are. And this is a huge, 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 huge flaw, because maybe you're visualizing this person that's wealthy, but you are the you today who has no idea how finances work. You don't know how credit works. You don't know how to manage investment accounts. You don't know how to manage money. Maybe you're visualizing this beautiful relationship and you're imagining yourself in this beautiful relationship, and you can feel how happy and fulfilled and how wonderful. And maybe you're embracing that feeling and you're doing that part right, but here's what you're doing wrong. Today, you have low self-esteem. You don't believe that you're worth it. You believe that you can forgive anything, that people are imperfect, that love forgives all these sins. The you today is willing to put up with crap. And so all of a sudden you magically think that you're going to manifest a perfect relationship because you felt it, when your core identity is the same. The same is true for finances. If you're going to be a millionaire, you have to think like a millionaire. You have to know how to handle money. And we don't always understand that we have to become a new version of ourselves. We have to update, upgrade our beliefs, who we are as a person. You know, I have big goals. I am on a journey here, and you're part of that journey. You're going to watch this next part of my journey. And the Dina from 5 years was not the Dina from last year. The Dina that is a New York Times bestseller, that's an international world renowned coach, is not the person that she was 5 years ago. Why? That person was more timid. That person doubted maybe her ability to speak to the masses. And that version doesn't. And in order for me to get that version, I have to become her, which means that there are traits, there are beliefs, there are habits that I will have to leave behind in order to embrace this new version, this upgraded version of me. I really want you to understand that, because there's so many of you that you know what you want, but we don't understand that we have to become different. We cannot stay the same and then all of a sudden get magical different circumstances, because we're manifesting who we are. If you have low self-esteem today, future version of you is going to have low self-esteem, and you're going to be in the exact same circumstances. Most manifesting coaches aren't focusing enough on that. You need to upgrade yourself. You need to dig deep and figure out what it is that has created exactly what you have today. You're not learning how to manifest. You're manifesting all the time. What you have today, what you had 5 years ago, what you had 10 years ago, you manifested that. How? How did you manifest bankruptcy? How did you manifest divorce? Well, you need to figure that out. What is there in your beliefs that created that? Because what you're learning to do now is you're learning to manifest on purpose. You're learning to do it with intention. Instead of randomly leaving it up to chance. We sometimes look at our circumstances and we're like, I didn't, what do you mean I manifested this? I would never manifest this. This sucks. This is horrible. Well, this is science. This is how the world is set up. Our reticular activation system is filtering and creating the world according to what we believe is possible, what we believe we deserve, what we believe we're capable of, what we believe the exterior world is capable of giving us and supporting us. And if we don't upgrade that, we will continue repeating the same patterns. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. But why do we do the same things over and over again? Isn't it because we're thinking the same things over again? A thought precedes an action. So we're doing the same things over and over again because we're thinking the same things over and over again. Why are we thinking the same things over and over again? Usually it's because we're feeling the same things over and over again. We're feeling depression over and over again. We're feeling desperate over and over again. We're feeling lost over and over again, which leads to the thoughts, which leads to the same actions. And how are you going to manifest the future differently if you don't change that part of you? It's easy to say, assume the result, assume the feeling. And that is very true. That is 100% true. Assume the confidence, assume the abundance. But there's too many of us that are doing this as a morning ritual. Hopefully you're watching my videos and you're doing it in your theta state first thing in the morning and last before you go to sleep at night. Is that enough? Because we embrace these states, abundance, we visualize our future, we see what we want, we know we're going to get it. And then we go about the daily life and we do what? We go back to the same thoughts. We go back to the same feelings. And so what is the universe going to give us? The universe doesn't care if it gives you good or bad. It is a match system. Like attracts like. And sometimes what we're doing, not sometimes, we're giving the universe mixed signals. We're spending 5-10 minutes of abundance in the morning and desperation 24 hours the rest of the day. Obviously, the math is wrong, but you know what I mean. We're broadcasting this signal in the morning, and the rest of the day, we're giving the universe a completely different message. And there's not some, God up there taking notes saying, hey, let me pay attention to the first few minutes and ignore the rest of the day, or, this person deserves it and this person doesn't. No, the universe is responding to our energy. Our filter for our brain is responding to what we told it to filter for. So you're sitting there in the morning and you're thinking about abundance and you're imagining your abundant life and you're imagining wealth and you're imagining your wonderful relationship. Yes, good, 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 good. But how did you get there? What not how did you get there? Because I don't mean the steps and the process, I don't mean what job did you do and what sales did you make? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what thoughts changed. What behaviors changed. Oh, let me give you an example. It's been a couple of years that I knew I was going to embark on this journey. I knew I had something in me. I knew I had a purpose. I knew I was a teacher. I knew I had wisdom to share. I knew I had that in me. And I also knew that in order to do that, I practiced what I preach. I knew I was going to have to become a different version of myself. I knew that the version that accomplished that had different behaviors, different patterns, different thoughts, different emotions. There was things that I needed to heal. And I'm speaking about 2 years ago. As I was visualizing this in the future, I could recognize that future me was not the same as that current version of me. So, here's a couple of examples. In my past life, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, is pretty comfortable. I drink my coffee in the morning. I could sit out on the porch. Um, you know, till 10 o'clock and, I meditate and I'm just chilling with my horses and taking care of the dogs. And, I'll work for a couple of hours and take a couple of clients. And then maybe I'll take a nap or maybe I'll go for a walk. Super comfy, super tranquilo, super laid back. I didn't have to worry about structure. I didn't have to worry about deadlines. I didn't have to think about, not worry is not quite the right word, but that was not in my current reality. And I knew that in order to embrace this future version of me, future Dina is going to have to be structured. She's going to have to say no to afternoon naps. She's going to have to be up and around and recording videos. She's going to be writing her book at 10 o'clock at night. She's not watching movies. She's not soaking in a bubble bath. She's focused. She's disciplined. She's on it. So there were behaviors that I knew I was going to have to change. And you know what? Quite honestly, I'm being totally honest. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I did, but I didn't. That's another thing that we'll talk about because conflicts are another huge reason why sometimes we're not manifesting. We're not manifesting. Obviously, I want that. Look, this is pretty comfy. I like this too. This is super easy. Sometimes this is the conflict. I'm going to do another video on that. I don't have notes. I'm trying really hard to stay on identity today. So I knew there was going to be identity shifts, how I saw myself. Did I necessarily see myself as a speaker, as a leader, as a teacher? Did I feel it in my soul? Yeah, but did I feel it all day? No, I didn't because I was taking a nap. So in order for you to manifest what you want, yes, you can. Yes, this is real. What I'm talking about is not theory. This is not woo-woo mystical mumbo jumbo BS. This is real. But you have to become the upgraded version of you. And sometimes A, we don't know what that is. B, we don't want to. And then blocks, there's going to be a lot of raw videos. So I'm going to ask you right now, like, and give me comments because I'm winging it here. And if this is a style that you like, let me know because I could talk a lot. There's a lot that I could talk about here. So Leave some comments. I wanna know what you think. Back to the identity thing. You have to become this new version of you. There will be emotional shifts that you have too. Emotional shifts, not that you're embracing for 5 minutes in the morning, but something that you are living with all day long. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's peace. That was another thing. Previous version, I had come from a lot of stress. I had gone through a period of life that was very, very intensely high stress, and my nervous system was operating in mode a lot. And I had to take my nervous system out of that. I had to take that, I had to delete that in order to embrace the future version of me. Because if that's what I'm broadcasting to the universe, what am I going to attract? More of the same. Future version doesn't include all of that ridiculous amount of stress. So, how do I make sure that I don't have that ridiculous amount of stress? I delete it now, which means there's a lot of healing work. There's a lot of growing work. There's a lot of digging deep. There's a lot of being honest with ourselves, which honestly, some people aren't willing to be honest with ourselves. When it comes to our identity, sometimes it's very difficult to shift our identity because we're stuck on who we are. We like who we are, or at the very least, we're used to who we are. And becoming a new version feels scary because we don't know what that's like. Maybe we're afraid that people won't like the new version of me. Maybe my current sphere of influence, maybe my current family, friends, partner, whatever, isn't going to like future Dina. Maybe they're not going to like the confident Dina. Maybe they're not going to like peaceful Dina, calm version of me. Maybe that means that some of my life is going to change. Well, we have to look at those things honestly. Maybe we need to shift some of what we're moving for. Maybe we need to do it in phases. Maybe we need to do it in steps. Okay, so I'm running at about 17 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up because I don't want these to be too long. But I want to say, I want to conclude by saying this: manifestation is real. It is more real than you could possibly imagine. There's science that backs it up. I obviously that's what my whole channel is dedicated to. But there are very specific reasons why we are not doing what we know we should do to create the life that we want. And so I'm experimenting with this raw, unedited version to see if you like that, because I know that there's things that I need to get out that don't always get scripted out. I want them to flow. I want that energy to flow. So today, this is about identity. I want to know in the comments what questions you have, because I don't want to be talking to a camera. I want to be talking to you. And that means I need to know what you're thinking. So give me some comments. I want to make a small announcement here too. I have something really big coming up. I have something that I've never done before. I already have I've been the personal coach. I've done the one-on-one coaching for over 20 years. I have courses, but I'm creating something new. Something that's going to be coming out in October. It's in its development phases, and if you wanna be part of that, I would ask you to join my newsletter. I've just started a newsletter group. I'm gonna put the link so that you could subscribe to the newsletter. That way you can stay connected, because I really think that the work that we're doing, that what I'm teaching here is not just for your life to be better. I want humanity's life to be better, and I know that sounds super grandiose, and I don't really care. I truly, truly believe that all of our energy is connected, and that if I can teach you how to do this, and then you can teach somebody else, and we can be a tribe that learns how to do this, I think that not only do we make our own lives better, but I really think that we can make humanity better. And that's what I want you to be part of. So I'm going to put a link in the description to subscribe to the newsletter. um, there's I guess I should say there's no spam, but obviously there's no spam because I don't really know how to do spam. So Join the newsletter because I'm creating a tribe. And if this is something that you are serious about, I want you to be part of my tribe. And that way you'll have the heads up on the project that I'm developing as it comes out. All right, guys, I'm wrapping this up. I love you guys. I will talk to you soon, and I'm really looking forward to your comments. All right, talk to you later.